Welcome to Talkin Business. I'm Joe Catrambone, CEO of the Stuart Martin County Chamber of Commerce. And I'm honored today to have Stephen Quintine, a member of the Chamber, CEO of Coral Shores Behavioral Health Center. Is it Health Center, Stephen?
Health Hospital.
Health Hospital. It's a phenomenal, fabulous facility on Salerno Road. It's just the first class, and I don't know a lot about it. Stephen's going to tell us a lot about it. I know it has to do with behavioral issues rather than physical health issues, correct?
Correct.
So I'd like to obviously want to delve more into that. So and incidentally, you've heard some of my guests, and including Cindy LeConte, who is our leadership coordinator or director, talk about leadership, and Stephen is currently in leadership class 31. So maybe we can touch a little bit on that later before we end. But so Stephen, tell me, what brought you to Martin County?
That's a great question. I've been with my current company. Our hospital is owned by Universal Health Services. I've been with them for the better part of 13 years. And I ran one of our hospitals in Ocala for 8 years. And ran a behavioral health hospital. And I accepted another opportunity with another company working on the med-surg side, working in a med-surg hospital back in 2020. And I left and I went, moved to the Southwest Florida and started working over there. And I learned pretty quickly that I was in behavioral health for that long for a reason, because I started to really miss behavioral health pretty quickly. And I miss UHS. And like I said, I've been with the company a long time, reported to the same person for a long time. And anyway, fast forwarding, I grew up in Broward County. Opportunity opened up at Coral Shores, and they called me up and said, "Hey, we know that this is kind of home for you. We'd love to have you back. You're interested in coming back." For me, it was kind of the opportunity I couldn't refuse. Coming back home, coming to South Florida, coming back to work in behavioral health, coming to work for the company I've been with forever. And so I took it. And so coming to, I'm not quite home, but I couldn't be happier where I'm at. And so that's how I ended up back in South Florida in Martin County.
Are you currently living in Martin County, or you're looking for a place?
Actually in Palm Beach County right now.
You're in Palm Beach?
Yeah.
Okay. And another had to be a carrot for you is this facility.
Absolutely.
It had to be almost brand new when you got there, wasn't it?
So the facility was built in June of 2017. So we're about to celebrate our 5-year anniversary.
Wow.
So I
the ribbon cutting.
Yeah. So there's nothing like a new hospital that's got all the latest and greatest. It flows well. We're regulated by CMS, by ACA, by Joint Commission. We have everything that we're supposed to have. It's all updated, and it's new. And a lot of times people come by the hospital and they'll say, "Wow, it's so nice and it's so clean," and I'll say thank you. But also, a hospital can get in bad shape pretty quickly. So it's become the culture there to keep it nice and clean as well. So it shows really well.
Yeah,
most people, when they come in, they're like, "Wow, I didn't expect it to look like this."
It looks like a hotel.
Yeah.
You walk. Yeah, literally, it doesn't look. You wouldn't know it was a hospital, and I'm sure that's part of what I don't know if you want to call it a cure or what the treatment is to be in that kind of facility. Probably makes it easier to do your job.
Yeah. At the end of the day, we don't want our clients, our patients, we don't want them to feel that they're in an institution. We don't want to have iron bars on the window. We don't want to have plexiglass in front of the nursing station, or plexiglass when you walk up to the receptionist. Even if you look at data shows that that actually makes people less uncomfortable and less comfortable and more agitated. So we want to keep it open. We want to keep it as less institutional as possible.
So, do you refer to your people as patients or
Correct.
clients?
We call them patients.
Patients.
Yeah.
So how does one get to your facility? Are they court mandated? Could I walk in and say I need help?
Yes, and yes.
And my wife would probably say, "Get there."
We have a couple beds, so yes and yes. So basically, we're 24/7, 365, and anybody who comes to us, we offer a free assessment. So anybody who comes and knocks on our door, anybody who walks in, they'll sit down with a licensed therapist for 30 minutes to an hour, and we'll give them an assessment. So at that assessment, they'll either determine the patient meets inpatient criteria and needs to come into the hospital. They could determine that they don't meet criteria and maybe they're appropriate for one of our other programs, one of our outpatient programs, or they don't meet criteria and we need to refer them out somewhere else to maybe something that more meets what they need. But at the end of that assessment, they'll have something to get them on the roadmap and pointed in the right direction.
So if someone were to walk in off the street and you deemed or they said they were suicidal, is that automatic? You're gonna put them in your hospital, or there's still an evaluation has to be run?
We're still going to do an evaluation.
Can that be done post haste?
Oh yeah, they're gonna do it right away. So there's a lot to unwrap there. So if somebody comes in and says they're suicidal, they're going to get an evaluation at that, and they're going to tell them they're suicidal. Most likely, based on that, they're going to come in. If the patient if they walked in, so if they're willing to come in, they'll come in and they'll get their treatment started right away. They'll get a treatment plan started. They'll get meds started. They'll see their doctor pretty soon. If for whatever reason that patient doesn't want to come in, and our staff determined that for their safety or the safety of others that need to come in, we're a licensed Baker Act receiving facility. So at that point, we could do it involuntary admit, and still get the patient into the hospital for their own safety and for their need. And the Baker Act gives us the ability to do that.
I was just going to ask that. So the Baker Act could intervene there.
Correct. So there's a process for that, but they could do a Baker Act, and if the patient, again, if we feel like the patient is not safe to themselves, harm to others, there could be a Baker Act. So going back to how people come to the hospital, we get people walking in. We get Baker Acts from law enforcement. We get Baker Acts from hospitals. We get referrals from community partners, whether it's local psychiatrists, local physicians, local treatment centers. So we spread a pretty wide and diverse umbrella when it comes to where our patients are coming from.
So what kind of an occupancy rate you have?
Right now, we're running occupancy of right around a little bit above 50%, about 55,
so you have
60%.
room.
We have room. We're 80 beds. One of our challenges last year was we weren't able to take everybody that we wanted to take due to the staffing challenges of last year and nurses and our growth. So we've staffed up pretty significantly. And this year, we're able to take most of the patients that are knocking on our door, which is important to us. And so we're getting busier because of that.
What would be a Baker Act that? What would a typical stay be? How long is the recuperatory or healing process?
Great question. Our average stay is 5.5 days.
Wow.
But it's totally based on the individual, and you have a couple things. You have obviously we have to. First of all, some people stay 2 or 3 days, and some people stay much longer, based on their needs. So when somebody comes in, they're going to get a treatment plan pretty quickly, and they have a treatment team. Everybody has a treatment team, which consists of the psychiatrist, the therapist, the nurse, the activity therapist, the mental health tech, the medical physician. And they're going to get together, they're going to put a plan together for the patient and say, hey, this is what's going on, these are the goals that need to be met. And so we're looking for, when the patient's with us, to meet their treatment goals. Some people can meet those, depending on what's going on, like I said, in a couple days, and some people take much longer. So Our average stay is 5.5 days, but it's really dependent on just what's going on with the patient. There's no cookie cutter to say, hey, everybody who comes in needs to be here
Gotcha.
this long or 30
So-
days, etc.
You have psychiatrists on staff, or is it outsourced?
Correct. We have all our physicians are
On st-
on staff.
On staff.
Yeah, we have some employed, some contracted physicians, but yeah.
So if a court mandates someone go to your place, do you determine, or does the court say you need to spend 5 days at Coral Shores, or do you determine and say, okay, he or she has gone through the process, we can release them now? How does that process work?
A good example with that would be the involuntary commitment of the Baker Act. If the patient has to go to court and we have to go through the Baker Act process and the court process to mandate their treatment, it's still based on the patient's individual. So hypothetically, if court says that they need to be there for, just to throw a number, 60 days, and we've determined that the treatment team has met and they've gone over the treatment goals and they've gotten to know the patient, it comes down to the facility decision and what's best for the patient. So.
And the court usually adheres to the decision.
Right.
So do you ever get a criminal type mandate from the court to put in your facility? And do you have to make special arrangements for that? If someone who the court feels they're going to put in jail, but they need some help first, could you handle that?
Absolutely. And again, we don't look at that person as a criminal. We look at that person as a patient who needs help. So we're looking at what they've come in for, and we're going to assess the need, and we're going to help them based on that. Now, at the end of the treatment, if that patient is going to, if the sheriff's office is going to pick them up and take them where they need to take them, then that's their discharge plan. That's where they're going. But we treat the symptoms, and everybody in our hospital is either a danger to themselves or they have a psychiatric behavioral health diagnosis.
So in that case, they would be remanded back to the judicial system.
Correct.
You can't just turn them loose on the street.
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
they wouldn't be happy if we did that.
Yeah. No, I don't think many people would be. Do you see? I think you said 13 years you've been with the company.
Correct.
Okay. And mostly in mental health.
Yeah, I've with this company, Universal Health Services, all mental health hospitals. So I've worked in 4 of our hospitals now,
Okay.
all behavioral health, substance abuse.
So in your experience over the last 13 years, is there an uptick on mental health issues, or is it about the same? It's normal, or has it gone down?
Great question. And yes and yes. Our hospitals are getting busier. We do believe the pandemic has something to do with that. A lot of that has to do with awareness and the more acceptance of mental health. I mean, clearly, when I started 13 years ago, people, compared to now, people are much more comfortable talking about mental health. And so,
Oh yeah, it's taboo at one time.
Exactly. So, is there still a stigma? Absolutely. Is the stigma getting better? Absolutely. Are people more comfortable getting treatment, talking about it, maybe going for services? Absolutely. So, data shows that more people are seeking mental health treatment. Data shows that there is an uptick in mental health diagnosis as well. And there's probably multiple reasons that I couldn't even scratch the surface on as to why. But yeah.
So, is any of this covered by insurance, Medicare? Is any of that covered?
Absolutely. Coral Shores, we take pretty much all the insurances. We're not allowed to take Florida Medicaid, Medicare, all the major insurance plans we take. We do quite a bit of free care every year. Anybody who walks into our door, like I said, 24/7, 365, they're going to get an assessment, and if that patient needs to be admitted, you know, if they're suicidal, homicidal, danger to themselves or other, we're not asking them what insurance they have. They're going to get admitted, and they're going to get stabilized, and they're not going to leave until we deem they're safe, no matter whether they have insurance or whether they don't.
So I know you're not in the insurance business, but if does a in order for an insurance program to cover that stay, does a doctor, an MD, or a psychiatrist have to recommend that they come to your facility before the insurance company will pay for it, or can I walk in and say, hey, I need help, I'm here, nobody sent me, and my insurance is going to cover it?
So basically, I mean, yes. So if somebody comes into the facility, you know, we're going to check their just like if you go to the medical hospital. You know, if they have insurance, we're going to get their insurance information, and we're going to submit to the insurance company what's going on. And we have a whole utilization management department that's going to work with the insurance company. And basically, I say their job is to advocate for the patient to get the days they need. So they'll let the insurance company know. So that's where, you know, documentation for us becomes critical, because we give great care, and so that our team documents great care, so when the insurance company sees it, they can see what's going on and approve the days.
So I can't just come down for a 3-day rest and say, hey, Steve, I need some help.
Well, you'd be paying cash anyway, right? So.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So is there anything you'd like to talk about that we haven't covered? I mean,
No, I mean, I'll say again, you know, Coral Shores, we're coming up on our 5-year anniversary, and so it's an exciting time for us. We're still growing by leaps and bounds, and a lot of people still don't know what we do, and that we're even there. So one of our goals as we move forward is just letting everybody in this community know that Coral Shores is here. We're a resource. Most places don't have enough mental health resources, and we're one. We're in their backyard. So if you need our services, you have a question, 24/7, 365, come by for an assessment, and we're there. We're growing. We're adding outpatient program. We just finished a $1 million plus project to grow our outpatient area, so we're adding partial hospitalization programming, which means that the patients come in every morning. They go through groups and programming during the day, and they go home. Intensive outpatient programming where they do that 3 days a week. We're going to add adolescent outpatient programming, intensive outpatient programming in the coming months, and evening programming. So,
well, that's one thing we didn't talk about. How about talking a little bit about programs? I mean, what can you typically expect if you're going in, or if someone's going in there, not over the edge, but just need some help? What type of programs? What do you do with them?
Mm-hmm. Well, we have three. You know, we're an acute. We're licensed for 80 acute beds. So acute licensed behavioral health hospital, specialty hospital. So of that, we have 56 adult beds and 24 adolescent beds.
Oh, you do have adolescent beds.
Right. So we have acute kids beds for the kids. We have 4 units. So we have one unit that is our most acute unit, and then we have a dual diagnosis unit, which means that those patients will they usually suffer from substance abuse and behavioral health, and we work with both. We have the adolescent unit, like I said, and then right now we have a unit that's not open. It's set up to be a geriatric unit, and so older adult unit. Mm-hmm. And so when the time is right, we look forward to opening that and offering programming for that as well.
Is a lot of this substance abuse? Is a lot of your patients due to substance abuse?
Well, we do.
I would think, especially in my mind's eye, the teenager, the adolescent, is it drug related, or?
Like I said, we do a lot. Because we're a mental health licensed hospital, everybody has to have a mental health diagnosis. Now, do a good percentage of those have substance abuse as well? Yes. If somebody only has substance abuse and no mental health diagnosis, we'd probably refer them out to a substance abuse center. But like I said, you know, with dual diagnosis, somebody with mental health and substance abuse, we treat those, and it's pretty common.
Yeah, how do you feel? And this isn't meant to be critical at all or to criticize. How do you feel we stack up, Martin County as a community, handling mental health? Do we have enough facilities? I mean, obviously yours is. I was surprised when you told me it was about 50 or 60% occupancy. I thought you were bursting at the seams. So, but how do you feel we do in general, or we stack up? Now, it's all relative because we can't compete with Palm Beach County. They're 3 times the population we have, or their budget and all that. But for a community our size, do you feel we're pretty much on target in handling mental health?
I think that this is a great community with people passionate, and everybody who I've worked with on mental health, from the hospitals, from the judicial system, from the sheriff's office, which is incredible. Everybody's been incredible. It's hard to say how we stack up because I haven't worked in only so many, but I think that if you are somebody in Martin County who needs mental health treatment, there are resources there, and the challenge might be where to find them, but they're definitely there, and you can't say that in every place. So yeah, if you need help, they're there, and not just us. There's a lot of resources, a lot of places you can ask, a lot of places you get pointed in the right direction. So I think living in Martin County, if you need behavioral health services, you have options where you can get started.
That's great to know. That's really good. So I'm all over the place. I'm just going to ask you. Oh, what's the average stay of a teenager?
Great question, and it's about the same. Like I said, the average stay overall is about 5.5 days. The kids, our adolescent unit goes from 12 to 18th birthday. It's a little longer, but not much. It's probably a little bit over 6 days. Again, some stay much longer and some stay shorter. It's an average.
Are the courts using that option more, do you think, today, referring these kids who are troubled to mental health facilities rather than a detention center? Do you see that?
That's a tough one to answer. I would say, because it might not be the same kid, right? Because a kid who
could be a different offense.
A kid who comes to us has a behavioral health diagnosis. They could be bipolar, they can be schizophrenic, they could be depressed, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas a kid that goes to the detention center might have just done something bad. So
I got you. Yeah,
so
it's a different offense.
Right.
Different.
So there's a blur, because sometimes they might have done something bad because of their mental illness, and so in that case, that's where we might, if they send them to us, we'll do the evaluation and we'll see, and if we can help them, we absolutely will.
Well, that's great, Stephen. I really appreciate you taking the time to come up here out of your busy day. I know you're a busy man, and we'll do this again. I mean, there's a lot of other areas that you probably could cover, and certainly more questions. Because one question provokes another. Your answer provokes another. So, I appreciate you taking your time and spending it with me today, and look forward to seeing you again soon.
It's my pleasure, and I'd love to come back anytime you like,
Okay.
and I appreciate you having me on the show.
Well, and I'm going to see you at graduation next week. I'll be handing you your plaque for leadership graduation.
I will be there.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you.